Now, Donald Trump is threatening to overturn press protections to allow him to sue media he does not like. On Sunday, Donald Trump told a Miami reporter that he would like the laws in the United States governing the media to be more European. Interesting. More like Great Britain specifically, where Trump said it was easier to successfully sue the news if they get it wrong. He said, quote, well, in England, they have a system where you can actually sue if someone says something wrong. Our press is allowed to say whatever they want and get away with it. I'm a big believer, tremendous believer in the freedom of the press. Nobody believes it stronger than me, but if they make terrible, terrible mistakes, and those mistakes are made on purpose to injure people. Wow.
Doesn't that make it not a mistake?
No,
I mean, not to be nitpicky here, but if it's on purpose to hurt somebody, that means it's not a mistake.
I was going to get to that. Now, let's continue with this word salad from Donald Trump first. He says, well, in England, you have a good chance of winning these, and deals are made and apologies are made. Over here, they don't have to apologize. They can say anything they want about you or me, and there doesn't have to be any apology. England has a system where if they are wrong, things happen. Things and stuff. Stuff and things. So, to my point, the freedom of the press allows you to say things up to a certain point. And that's getting to your point, Ron. The point being slander and libel, which, by the way, U.S. laws already allow you to sue for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you an example. Like, there was a recent defamation lawsuit that was from Hulk Hogan suing Gawker successfully and getting millions and millions of dollars. In fact, Gawker, gone. There is no Gawker anymore. Dead. So I'd say that's a pretty successful lawsuit. And look, Hulk Hogan had a really good case. They aired a sex tape.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, if they say things that are wrong, if they show things that they obviously shouldn't, they breach privacy, if they do libel, slander, you already have laws in America that allow you to sue those media companies for doing that. So what Donald Trump is talking about is, I guess, expanding that even more so that he can go after media he doesn't like.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's and the First Amendment does grant us maybe protections more extensive than those in Britain. I mean, I'm not really fluent in their laws, so I don't really know. But I know that the First Amendment gives us some stretching that maybe other countries don't have in the same way. But the other side of that is that there are provisions in the First Amendment. You know, it doesn't protect hate speech.
Right.
It doesn't protect defamation of character. You
Right.
can sue for all of those things. And as far as just propaganda and yellow journalism, that's always been part of our media sphere here in the United States. And there's always been this this kind of civic responsibility to kind of filter it. I mean, even back in the day when we had arguably a better media structure than we have today, prior to the 20th century, when there were all kinds of different newspapers that different schools of political thought founded. That's why we have more political parties, or one of the reasons. And the Postal Service distributed it. Even back then, there were some people that were just publishing this crazy yellow journalism.
Right.
But they kind of got weeded out. And you know, to me, it's like, there is no perfect media structure, but I think the media structure that we had prior to the 20th century, that was a more free and open press, that had all those different voices, that was the closest thing I've ever seen to a very strong media structure, like the strongest I would like to see. And, you know, the whole yellow journalism part of it was a symptom that made it imperfect, yes, but was worth it to have things like the First Amendment and press freedom. So this is just Donald Trump grasping at something that isn't there.
Right. Pretty much. And I want to add, too, that it is actually pretty difficult to sue someone for libel and slander. I mean, you've got to go through a court of law. It can be difficult, and it's supposed to be difficult, because if it's not, you will have people like Donald Trump. Like, look, we're one of the most litigious, or the most litigious society on the planet. And Donald Trump himself has been a plaintiff in, like, what, 4,000 lawsuits? plaintiff, defendant, he's been in court a lot. Okay, this guy is probably the most litigious presidential candidate that has ever been. Okay, that has ever run. These laws and these protections are there to stop people like Donald Trump from suing people for doing journalism that he just doesn't happen to like, or
Right.
doing opinion pieces that he doesn't like. So this is essentially, to me, Trump whining about being unfairly treated by the media for them basically using the words that he said against him. Well, if you don't like it, don't say those kinds of things. But that's not to say that Hillary Clinton is not favored by the media. She definitely is. I think you and I would agree with that, Ron, right?
Well, what do you mean by favored? Like,
As far as them kind of protecting, for example, they're not reporting on the Podesta emails. Not very much, okay? Doing that kind of stuff and focusing a lot on attacking Donald Trump, which is fine. I'm not in favor of Donald Trump. I tend to attack Donald Trump on a lot of things. I'm attacking him today. This segment is about saying how stupid he is and one of his proposals. But at the same time, I don't think that you can deny that the establishment media is a little bit more protective of establishment figures. So
yeah, well, plus, I mean, the whole, I don't even know if it's so much they favor Clinton over Trump as much as they really love the clickbait, they really love the horse race, they really love the sensationalism, and Donald Trump provides them with plenty of fodder, whereas Hillary Clinton, not as much. I mean, the WikiLeaks thing, yeah, that's a very big deal.
Yep.
That's a very big deal. But to the general person that maybe isn't all that politically engaged, what are they more likely to click on? Something about, these emails got leaked, and let's hear what Hillary had to say about Bernie, or let's see what Hillary said to Goldman Sachs. Or are they going to click on Donald Trump said something outrageous about women again?
Oh, no, you're right about that, for sure.
You know, and I think that's more of it.
Okay, well, I'd say we're both pretty much half right in this one, I think. that's
Yeah,
my
I mean, it's
opinion.
definitely a little bit of both. I mean,
Yes.
it's definitely a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But I would say it's more that they just, I mean, because, I mean, they're just most concerned with their bottom line.
Well, let me
And,
add
you know,
on
having
that.
the clickbait with Donald Trump helps with that.
Yeah, no, my point is actually that is the point. The money, right? You got to follow the money. The problem here, money in politics, and you know, super PACs. We know the super PACs raise a lot of unlimited money from donors, and where do they spend it all? They spend it on media. They spend it on television ads. Now, interestingly enough, who's raised the most from super PACs this election cycle? Undoubtedly, Hillary Clinton.
Right.
Donald Trump, I mean, yeah, he's got a super PAC, but he's not raising very much money. That's why this guy can't afford to run ads. That's why he doesn't run any ads. That's why he doesn't have a ground game. Doesn't even know didn't even know what a ground game was until after Iowa, after he got crushed. Oh,
Yeah.
so that's what a ground game is. Right. So, look, Hillary Clinton's raising all the money. She's spending all this money in the media. And I think that kind of gives that, at least that system is definitely biased in favor of, where you have these media corporations that are like, yeah, let's continue this status quo. Who's gonna keep the status quo? Hillary Clinton.
Absolutely. And she's padding their pockets, like you pointed out. And you know what? Let's not forget our history here. These big media corporations could not exist to the extent that they do if it wasn't for some policy her husband passed. So I'm sure there's a little bit of ongoing gratitude there. I mean, just being real.
Right. But the whole point here is, look, if you really do want a more fair and accurate media, get the money out. Now, that's not going to help Donald Trump because Trump actually said these horrible things. So, and he's a terrible candidate. And he's a terrible human being for all intents and purposes. So that's not going to help him. But if you actually do care about real, actual, factual media, well, you want to get the money out. Get the money out of politics so they stop spending so much. So they stop corporatizing the media as well. And which is basically what it is now. It's just a conglomeration of 6 different corporations that are controlling the media.
And it could be even less soon. as we're going to talk about later in the show.
Yeah, but basically, look, if you allow networks to be sued for doing journalism because you don't like it, well, you're going to end up with a media that's not going to do journalism at all. And look, already, journalists are an endangered species thanks to the money, thanks to the bottom line, and thanks to, of course, as you point out, the infotainment industry, which basically puts clickbait ahead of doing actual journalism. And just think that if Donald Trump gets his way, how much worse our system would actually be. And the other point that I want to bring up is, look, even though Donald Trump, I think, is pretty likely to lose at this point, his supporters and people who, took his message and have rallied around his message, they're still going to be around. These people don't listen to the media. Now, largely because they don't believe in facts, but also because, hey, the media is establishment friendly. And let's be honest about that. However, there are still journalists out there. And look, as much as we tend to shit on corporate media, sometimes they actually do really good stories. Sometimes they actually do facts.
It's not.
New York
it's not
Times
like it's
will
all
publish
bad.
great stories. You'll have Politico that'll publish really in-depth, hard-hitting journalistic stories. I mean, so yes, and they'll even report on the Podesta emails. I've got a story today in Politico about the opposition file to Bernie Sanders, and I'm going to talk about later in the show. So, they do occasionally do journalism, and they do, for all intents and purposes, they're much better than Breitbart, WorldNet Daily, The Blaze, all those right-wing media outlets that actually don't follow facts. At least the corporate media, for the most part, stays true to facts. And so, yes, I'm going to attack the media. I'm also going to defend them because there is good that they do, and they can do better. And see, it's not that we want to take down the media. It's that we want to make them better. We want to actually make them do their jobs the way that they should do their jobs.
Yeah, you know what? One quick thing, since you brought it up, it's interesting that Donald Trump is talking about how the media is not held accountable when the outlets he favors the most are the ones that parrot absurd propaganda like Breitbart.com and Alex Jones.
Oh, you nailed it right there. And the ironic part about this is that under these laws, under Donald Trump presidency, you're going to end up having lawsuits against Breitbart and Alex Jones for not doing actual journalism. It's hilarious. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent, non-corporate media, go to our Patreon page and become a patron. Patreon.com/TYTNation.